had the opportunity to see one of the great institutions here, the university, and now I've had the privilege of visiting another institution which I believe is distinct from the university, though obviously connected in history. It's truly the case that when you visit Manipal, you are struck by the extraordinary achievement of one visionary person, and of course the successive lines of subsequent generations that have carried it forward. It is really an extraordinary achievement, and in a very important area, which is education, and also to create these tremendous institutions. And I assure you that when you visit, you see the infrastructure, you meet the students, you meet the faculty, you do get a sense of some of the spirit of the institution. It's truly an impressive performance, and the fact that it is done not in a metropolitan city, but somewhat more remote from the metropolitan city, is actually doubly important. So I feel privileged to be able to pay a personal tribute to the achievements of its TMFI and its successors, and I think Mr. Ramdas we owe this to you also. I know we're running a bit late and you have a very busy schedule ahead. So as far as this particular seminar is concerned, I just want to say that there's two themes to your subject today. One is the next stage of India's growth transformation, and of course the role of the financial sector. I'm not going to talk about the role of the financial sector. I think that you will hear many experts discuss during the rest of the day. But I do want to say a few things about the business of the next stage of growth. Yesterday, during the convocation at the university, I expressed the view that I think it is now India's turn to get onto the fast track. We did pretty well for 4 years, 5 years before the crisis. We slowed down because of the crisis, but still at a level which is pretty respectable. And I think from the next year onwards, we can start getting back onto this high growth track. And other countries have done it, there's no reason why we shouldn't. I do want to emphasize that this is going to require more than just financial sector issues. I mean, there are a whole slew of challenges that we will have to face. And I think the important thing to think about from the financial sector is that the financial sector will have to support the multidimensional transformation which the economy will have to undergo if it is to grow rapidly in the next 10 and hopefully the next 20 years. Let me just mention what these transformations are, and then I leave it to the lecturers and participants and discussants during this seminar to try and shed some light on them. I mean, obviously one very major transformational development, if we are to grow rapidly, is going to be the huge increase in infrastructure that we need. In fact, almost every hour during my visit, I'm reminded that we should be doing a better job of NH17, and as I said yesterday, I hope to go back and ask the road secretary what on earth is going on. But you know, this is absolutely true. And this is true of power, this is true of roads, this is true of railways, this is true of airports, this is true of urban infrastructure, water and sewerage. And frankly, that transformation in terms of infrastructure is going to pose its set of financing challenges. They're huge challenges because the volumes of investment that are needed are going to be very large, and infrastructure poses some special demands which are different from other sectors. So that's one transformation. The second transformation has to be the greater urbanization of India. We are one of the countries with the lowest rate of urbanization. Probably only 30% of our population at present lives in urban areas. This is the consequence of slow growth. If we project in the next 20 years rapid growth, then you can be sure that this urban Alisha is currently chairing a high-level committee which the government has appointed to look into the issue of the challenges of urban infrastructure and how do we finance it. And that's a huge area, separate from infrastructure, because it's urban infrastructure. I mean, it's one thing for the central government or the state government to borrow in order to build power plants. It's quite another if the borrowing has to be done by municipalities. So unless the state government is going to borrow in order to finance infrastructure development in municipalities, you need a financing solution where the cities and the municipalities that need to make these investments are somehow able to raise the money. That's another huge financial challenge which somehow or the other we have to face. Another aspect of this very same transformation is the modernization of Indian agriculture. You know, if you look at the agricultural sector today, less than 20% of the GDP that actually comes from the agricultural sector, but approximately 50% of the population still derive the majority of their income from agriculture. Now this is an incredible disparity, especially because there is no way that agricultural GDP can grow at more than 4% per year. So think of it, if per capita income is rising at 7.5% per year, and if you want agricultural income per capita to rise at 7.5% per year, that is only going to keep the present relative balance between agriculture and non-agriculture constant. Then if per capita income in agriculture has to rise at 7.5% per year, and GDP can only rise at 4% per year, this is only possible if employment in agriculture actually falls by 3.5% per year. People don't very often realize this, that really it is a sign of the failure of our economic development that too many people remain dependent on agriculture. We can only define our development as succeeding if people are pulled out of agriculture and absorbed into productive activity, and those that left behind have higher productivity so that they can have higher incomes. That's a huge transformation, and we know that technically it can be done because many of the studies that we've seen show that there is at least a probability or possibility of 100% increase in land productivity in most of our agricultural areas, providing the right inputs, the right technology, and so on is made available. Now, to bring about that transformation is going to require a tremendous amount of financial support, not necessarily in terms of subsidies, but just in terms of inclusion. Agricultural transformation will not happen if the financing of agricultural transformation doesn't take place. So that's another kind of challenge that we face. And finally, of course, there's the whole issue of inclusion. There are just, we just do not have enough people in this country who are actually linked to the modern financial sector through having either a bank account or a postal savings account. One of the remarkable things about the National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, and the program has many problems, and you can only look at the newspapers. One good thing about our system is that whenever there's a problem, you can be sure that the newspapers will draw your attention to it, and they are drawing our attention to it, and we are concerned about that. But one of the good things is that because of this program, there has been a huge increase in the number of bank accounts that have been opened in the country. But that only tells you what remains undone. So there's a lot of technological evolution that is necessary, which goes under the name of financial inclusion. And people have different views on it. Some people say, well, you need to have banking correspondence, use IT, etc., in order to link people to banks which may be far from them. Others talk about microfinance, still others talk about self-help groups, and maybe all of these things are going to be necessary. That's going to be another dimension. Finally, India is not going to grow at 9% except in an environment that is globally integrated.